Hi, welcome to RememberYourWinning.com. I'm Avram Goldhar, and today we're going to review the dapim, the Simanim from Daf Mem Hey to Daf Nun Aleph. So we are 13 dapim away from the sign, our first Masechet in Simanim. I'm thrilled. So we got to stay focused. I want to start with just one story. I got an email this week from Rav Yitzhak, a dear friend in London, who said that he has been doing the Simanim and chazing, 35 dapim on a train on a short ride, and then he fell behind. And he said that typically he would have fallen behind and okay, he's lost those dapim, that's it. But now he realizes how much he can remember, how much he did remember from all the dapim he has done Simanim with. He doesn't want to lose what he could really know. And I just thought to myself how many people are forgetting dapim because they don't really appreciate or know how much they can remember. If they were in touch, in the experience, really having a tfisa on so much more at their fingertips, they would be much less likely to forego all that time and effort that went into getting clear on the daf. So keep steiging Rav Yitzhak and keep steiging everybody, and here goes. Okay, Daf Mem Hey. Daf Mem Hey deals with the issues of Zimun. It's the opening mission in the 7th parak, deals with the Zimun, how many people are mitzvah from the Zimun, who can be in the Zimun, which foods can be in the Zimun. And then we got to the issue of, can two people be mazamein, do you have to have three? So we said Mem Hey is ma, it's a question mark. So to dress it up, we said it's an interrogation room with police, and they're questioning these two guys sitting around a table with Damai and Maisarishan, Shanito Trumaso, and they want to know who the third guy in their Zimun was. And they're saying really just us two. And so that gets into the issues of Zimun and can two be mazamen. Okay, Daf Mem Vav deals with the issue of what is the, who should be mazamen, who should say the bracha as they go through the benching. What point is the Zimun over? Is it by the end of the Zimun itself or the end of the first bracha? And then we get into the issue of the Persians, the etiquette of the Persians, how they set up their lounge chairs and where the gadol sits and how they interact with one another. So you said Mem Vav is mu, it's a cow, but we use cow for Kaf Aleph. So we said it's milk. And we have in mind that you have these Persians sitting around drinking their milk, reclining, and then it comes time for the guest to lead the benching so he can, say the Zimun all the way up until the proper point. Then he should include the bracha at the end. And also we mentioned that we got into the sugyas, the fourth bracha, deraisa or not. And told Meitiv, is that deraisa or is it only d'Rabbanan? There are many proofs that it was only d'Rabbanan. So he's up there doing all the different things in front of these Persians, leading the benching till then. Okay, Daf Mem Zion deals with the different types of amens that one says which are improper, ketufa, chatufa, yasoma, and what is the proper way to say an amen that's merichin yamav, lengthen someone's days. Then we got into the issue of the big Mishnah that deals with the different sizes of, we got into kusi, different people who can be mazamein or shouldn't be mazamein. We got into the issue of amaratzim, who is considered an amaratz, and we had different definitions for that. And then we had the last issue that someone gets into shul, they're part of the minyan, the first 10, then they get the schar keneged kulam. So our Mem Zayin is a maze. I'm going to call it the Amen maze. The goal is to find the right Amen to say. So you have these 100 Amaratzim running into the maze trying to find the right Amen, not Chatufa, Ketufa, Yizoma, and so on. And the guy who actually finds it, he ends up getting Schar, Kulam. Okay, Daf Mem Ches. Daf Mem Ches deals with I didn't mention this in the Simanim, the post, but we had that just interesting story where Abai and Rabba were young children and they were asked, where's the Kadosh Baruch Hu? And they each pointed to where Kadosh Baruch Hu is, above, and then one proclaiming that, we have future Gedolei Yisrael in front of us. It fits into the Siman as well. Then we got into the sugya of Rav Shimon ben Shattach, who was invited to the Suda reluctantly by Yanai Melech, who needed someone to lead the benching, and we had the topic of Rav Shimon ben Shattach, who was to drink the cup of wine to then lead the benching. And the question is drinking wine enough to be mitzvah, not only to be mitzvah, but to lead the benching? And then we got into on the base, in terms of Berachos Hamazon, really the background of Berachos Hamazon, who was mitaking each bracha, of Berachos Hamazon, Moshe Rabbeinu, Yeshua, David and Shlomo Melech, and so on. So we have here Memches is a moach, is a brain. So we had the science lab filled with brains and formaldehyde, and a rabbi was invited into a king's science lab. It's very intimidating, so that's Yanai Malka to remind us of him. And then he sits down and there's a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation of Berachos Hamazon, the history of Berachos Hamazon with slides of, the man following and coming into the Eretz Yisrael with the kibush and so on. So a little slideshow to tell us over the history of Berachos Hamazon. Okay, Mem Tes. Mem Tes deals with the issue of all the different size zimun that can be said, the different from 1 to 10 to 100 to 1,000 or more, and how the text changes. That was on the base. But then we get into Amud Aleph, Amud base. On Amud Aleph, we got into the idea that you shouldn't have two different endings in a bracha because you're making mitzvahs and chavilos. And so we had the siman of a big banquet. It was a Rosh Chodesh Shabbos banquet, and they're passing around these burgers and steaks, the meat for Mem Tes, and it's bundled up to remind us of shouldn't bundle up brachas. And because it was Shabbos Rosh Chodesh, we had these big flashing signs that were, on a timer that say reminding people to say Ritzei and Yalav Yavo, because we got into the issue of what one does if they forget to say Ritzei or Yalav Yavo. Then we get to yesterday's Daf Nun. Daf Nun was related to Nefila. I was just thinking to myself, Nun always gets the bad rap. But okay, Nefila, and therefore just to bring it out a little bit more, we had a guy on a crutch, and he was a boor, he was an Amaretz. So we talked about things that people say within benching that indicates whether they're Talmud Chacham in their hashkafas or they're a boor in their understanding of how Kodesh Baruch Hu gives to them. Then we got into the issue of the 10 halachas of to bringing up zimun, the groups, larger groups into smaller groups when that is done. And then we got into the topic of how one treats bread. So we have this guy boor on a crutch, and he's saying nevarech, because we also got into the issue of what's the ideal way to say zimun, is it nevarech or baruch hu? And then he's breaking up with his crutch different groups of people and kind of dividing them into smaller groups to make a zimun each. And then he takes his crutch and whacks a piece of bread, which isn't very respectful. So we get to the proper ways to deal with the lechem. And then we get today's Daf Nun Aleph. Daf Nun Aleph is na, it's like gnawing. So we're going to use a beaver with big teeth. And the topics on today's daf are the issue of asparagus, which is that undiluted wine that has cabbage in it, which is supposed to be very healthy, or beer, and the effects, the therapeutic effects that happens when it's wine, or detrimental effects that can happen when it's beer. And then we got into the issue of the 10 halachas by kos shel bracha, how is the appropriate way to hold the kos and fill the kos, whatnot, to wash the kos. And then we got into, that led into the sugya, or that maisa with Ula and Rav Nachman, and Rav Nachman's wife Yalta got upset because she wasn't handed the kos shel bracha. And then we get to the big Mishnah, and now beginning the 8th parak, of all the malchusim between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel in terms of the proper way to begin a Suda, say Kiddush, which bracha goes first, whatnot. So he said we have a beaver, and strapped on his back is a wine bottle that looks like asparagus. Now, of course, asparagus is not asparagus, but that's the easiest way for me to remember. We're talking about asparagus, but it's a wine bottle with a little piece of cabbage floating in it. And he's gnawing through then these 10 cups of kos shel bracha, silver cups, that he knocks over as he gnaws his way into a Suda. And of course, the woman who set up the cups is very upset, and she's yelling. And then he gets to the Suda, and we have all the Talmidim all arguing over the proper way to begin the Suda and wash for the Suda and whatnot. Okay, there we go. So let's now, I'm going to ask you a few questions, and it's a good chance to just quiz and test ourselves. So if you want to listen to that again first before doing it, great. Here goes. You ready? Okay, which daf do we have the issue of at what point did the zimun end? Is it by the end of the words of the zimun, or is it by the end of the first bracha? Okay, that was on daf mem vav. Mem vav is mu, milk. It's the person sitting around, and they're giving the guest a chance to lead the benching, and he leads it all the way until Hazanas HaKol, let's say. Okay, which daf do we have the issue where we learned about the background to Berachos Hamazon, that Moshe was mataken the first bracha because of the man and so on? Where was that? Where are we going to find that in brachas? That's on daf mem ches, right? Moach, that's the science lab with all these brains, and Rebbe then getting the PowerPoint presentation on Berachos Hamazon. Okay, where do we have the topic of whether two people can be mitzvah for their own zimun. What was that discussed? That was on Daf Mem Hey, right? Mem Hey is the interrogation room with the two guys sitting around the table with the police saying, who's the third guy? Where's the third guy? Where'd he go? Okay. Where do we have the topic of that a bracha should not have two endings in it? And we asked all those kashas, arts al michya, and so on, and we explained those. And you shouldn't make mitzvahs chavilos. Right? That is on Daf Memtes. Memtes is the meat. It's that big suda, the big fleish banquet for Shabbos Rosh Chodesh. They're passing around bundles of meat. That was on Daf Memtes. Great. Okay, where do we have the sugya of the 10 ways halachas pertaining to the kosher bracha? That's on Daf Nun Aleph, right? Nun Aleph is the beaver gnawing, and he gnaws and knocks down the 10 Kiddush cups, kosher bracha. Okay, good. Where do we have the topic of the improper ways to say Amen? What was that? That's on Daf Mem Zayin, right? Mem Zayin is a maze. It's the Amen maze because they're searching around to find the right way to say Amen, and every time they get to the wrong end, it's the Chatufa, Yisoma, and so on. Okay, good. Where do we have the topic of the improper ways to treat bread? You shouldn't throw bread. Where was that? That's on Daf Nun, right? Nun is Nefila. It's the guy on the crutch, and he knocks the bread with his crutch. Good. Okay, one more. Okay, where do we have the sugya of Shimon ben Shattach going to the Suda of Yanai HaMelech and then drinking the wine so he could lead the benching? Where was that? That's on Daf Mem Ches. Okay, great. So there we go. That's our quiz for this week. We're moving right along. We're less than 2 weeks from finishing Mirz Hashem Berachos, so keep steiging. If you have any questions, you want any eitzes, what to do, by all means, call. In fact, I'm going to throw this out. Anybody who wants, you can call me, just email me, and we'll set up a time, and I'll gladly test you. If any questions, you can call me. My pleasure, just to help us get to the finish line and be strong. I'll test you. I'll quiz you. You can call me whenever. We'll set up a time. We'll do it, okay? Because I want to make sure we cross the finish line and get our first Masechta down with Simanim. Okay, have a great Shabbos.